What celebrity death made you the happiest?
That's a messed up question.
What a way to start. Yeah, that was crazy. I was like, is that the first line? Well, I would say this. None of them made
Hitler.
me.
No, Hitler.
Well, I wasn't
alive.
around, right?
Yeah, but...
Not the happiest. I don't think any of them made me happy. But I think, in a sense, I thought we could have used Amy Winehouse's passing as like sort of a turning point, but I don't know if it was.
Like what kind of turning point?
Like a call to attention?
Yeah, sort of like, take drugs seriously, don't do them, get help, all that stuff.
Mental health.
The whole thing. I mean, she had a song called Rehab.
Yeah.
About how she wasn't going to go to rehab.
Yeah.
And then she dies. And I just thought, this is going to be a turning point.
If there was ever a cry for help.
Right. People are going to sort of use this as a lesson and not OD. And since then, there's been many ODs. So I don't know.
There have.
No turning point.
They should have gone to rehab.
Right.
Yeah.
Should have forced her in.
Anybody else have any ideas?
I have one, but okay, I want to preface it with it's never people who should actually die who die when it's a celebrity. It's never like Hitler. It's always like Amy Winehouse or Brittany Murphy. What the hell? That one was really upsetting.
Yeah. I feel like that was mold in her house.
Yes.
Because her
which
husband
is
died after
terrifying.
that. Yeah.
But okay, if I had to say one made me like not as sad as the others, right? So don't come at me, you guys.
Right.
Paul Walker. Here's why.
Because he was racing?
Because of the racing. And there's so many people who die all around Los Angeles. I mean, everywhere.
Right.
But growing up in my mom's neighborhood, there's this one street where you can hear the drag racers at night.
Yeah.
And every time I go there to visit my mom, there's always another lamp post or pole with a bunch of teddy bears.
A comedian's son died that way, and he wasn't even drag racing. He was sitting in his car, and a drag racer hit him.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah. It's really sad.
It's not that Paul Walker's death made me happy, but I just feel like the Fast and the Furious franchise has set a really bad and deadly example.
And was he
so many
drag
deaths
racing?
have
Was he racing his friend?
He was.
I
I think he was
was.
racing, yeah.
I thought you were going to say, and again, no one's happy. We wish you were here. But I thought you were going to say because his, I think his girlfriend at the time was like 20, 21. I thought you were...
And he was what, 40,
That too.
42?
Something,
like
yeah.
that.
Which is, it happens, They were both adults, depending on when they
consenting.
met. Yeah.
Adults.
It's half your age minus 3 is the new rule.
Is that? No.
Plus 7, I think.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great rule. Who makes these rules? Who's they?
I just made it up right now, so
It's
that's
half
perfect.
your age plus
Koji's
7.
rule.
I hope you
Koji's
guys
rule.
know.
Well, it's plus 7 or minus 3 depending on where you are. But yes,
Yeah,
Seth, what,
I'll tell you, it's Betty White. Betty White, she lived a long, good
Oh,
life
Okay, that's a good
nice.
answer.
and died of normal, natural causes.
Leave it to Seth.
And that's good. She did it.
she did her
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Much more cheerful than mine.
Yeah, you guys picked sad ones.
I know.
But you also had a really deep message with it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Don't
I can
date
appreciate
20-years.
that.
That was the main one.
Yeah, that was.
Unless they fit the half your age minus 3. That's okay. So wait, what does that make me? I'm 47. That's a 20-year-old. Hey, I got a 20-year-old.
Oh, God.
Wow.
That's too much work.
You and Paul Walker.
I
Don't
couldn't even
race your
imagine. I
car.
couldn't imagine that.
Okay, I looked up the Paul Walker thing, and I don't know if this is a credible source, but I won't say her name. She was 23 when he died, and they had been dating since she was younger than that, 16,
Oh shit.
and he was
Oh.
33.
Whoa.
I don't know
Wow. Paul
what
Walker.
what country she lived in.
What state?
I don't know.
Was she
So,
trafficked? Is she from like
she
Yugoslavia?
some people would say groomed, but it's hard to say, right? It depends on. You had to be there.
That's crazy.
You had to be there. It's a little while. You had to be there.
That
But
is
So
Drake
he
vibes.
met her when she was 16. Or they started dating officially when she was 16.
oh wow, you open up another.
Is that what you're saying?
They said it said they started dating. Now, when they met, that's I didn't even think about that.
This is
Jeez.
giving me Drake and Millie Bobby Brown vibes.
Yeah. Wow. What a world.
Gross.
What a
Wait,
world we live in.
is that the girl from Stranger Things?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Drake?
Yes. Did you not know this?
No, I didn't.
This is one of the things Kendrick Lamar was going off on, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He made fun of him.
They have all these like
And their diss
text
tracks.
conversations set of between them that are like not appropriate. Like,
Ah.
why would a man that age be friends with like a 13-year-old
Right.
girl?
Did he just want to know what was going to happen on Stranger Things?
He was a super fan. 11, tell me what's going on.
You're not really 11, are you? I mean,
I'm sorry. What do you mean, sir? Age or character name?
He really just has a giant crush on Winona Ryder and wants to know all about her.
Yeah, right. Connected with your soon-to-be mother-in-law in the show.
Yeah. So I thought you were going to go there. Rest in peace, Paul Walker. You know.
Yeah.
So I like Betty White, though.
Yeah, Betty White's the best
That's
one.
a good
I all I could think of is Hitler, so I'm not going to have an answer.
Right.
I just like the stretch of celebrity to get to Hitler. It feels like a positive term.
Well, I'm always thinking about Hitler, and that sounds bad. But it's
Clip it.
What do you think about that sexy mustache, that sweet Hitler stash?
So there's a joke with my manager. The first rule is when she receives a new script for me, and she asks me, "Are there any Nazi jokes or Hitler references?" And if I say yes, she won't even read it. She's like, "Get rid of that, all of that."
Wow.
Unless it's a World War II script, then maybe
It's like a first pass.
Yeah, she's right.
Yeah.
Get rid of that. There's no Nazi jokes. This is a romantic comedy. You don't need Nazi jokes.
Right.
And then I have to go and rewrite it and then send it in. And
Is it because you're Japanese? You secretly love him? That was offensive.
Right. Do you watch Man in a High Castle and you go, yes, this is how it should have been.
This is the universe we all deserve.
That's the one I remember.
From my past life. Welcome. This is season 4, episode 9 of the award-winning unofficial official story. I'm Kat.
I'm Dwayne, and I'm here.
And I am Koji.
And this is where we tell you the official story. We look at the paranormal, conspiracies, unexplained phenomena, cryptids, and true crime. And by the end, we'll tell you what really maybe happened.
And we'd love to hear from you. You can send us a message by clicking the Contact Us button on our website, or you can even leave us a voicemail. Click on the microphone button at the bottom of the homepage. Tell us what we got right. Tell us what we got wrong. Tell us how much you love us or hate us, or if there's a topic you think we should cover. Or do you think you'd be the perfect guest? Let us know.
This December marks the 44th anniversary of John Lennon's assassination. And we're asking the very important question, did Stephen King murder John Lennon? I don't know about you guys, but I've been celebrating the 44th anniversary. It's an important,
right.
It's an important anniversary in the Sakai household.
But first, let's introduce our guest, Seth Lawrence. Seth comes from a loving family in Orem, Utah. He went to law school and worked as an attorney in North Carolina. He's married with 4 kids. So how did he end up in stand-up comedy? Funny story. In 2018, Seth was a finalist in the U.S. Comedy Contest. In 2021, he worked as a host for the World Series of Comedy, performing in clubs all over the country. You can hear him on Sirius XM Radio, on Family USA, and Jeff and Larry's Comedy Roundup, if you're lucky. Seth also recorded a Dry Bar special called Ratty or Not that is currently available on drybarcomedy.com and on the Dry Bar Comedy app. He also has a podcast. What? A comedian with a podcast? Wild. It's called Self-Help Yourself. He reviews self-help books and gives some updates on good news in the world in a segment called 7 Minutes in Heaven.
That sounds very positive.
Mm-hmm. Find it where you get your podcasts. And now, hello. What's up?
How are you?
Thank you so much. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
What kind of a attorney were you? What did you work on?
I worked with closely held corporations. I was a corporate attorney looking at corporate governance documents mostly.
Oh, Jesus. That's like the worst.
It was, I loved it. I loved it, actually.
Nice.
I think
I
at one
liked
point
it
you
a
told
lot.
me you worked with 2 lawyers and they were trying to get you in a throuple, right? Is that the...
No. No. Close. No. It was a married couple that ran the firm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
I was the only
sure.
other attorney in the office. So in that way, maybe. A professional
It
throuple.
was a professional
What do you
I'll
like
take it.
about corporate law?
What did I like about it?
Like what was so intriguing about it?
I was intrigued by the money-making aspect that I was sold initially that I think sort of faded as the market crashed in 2006 to 2008. But I also just like working with words and getting, it's like a big puzzle. Every contract is a puzzle and every relationship in the professional world is kind of a puzzle when you have partners or co-owners trying to figure out how they're going to divvy up the business and who's going to run what.
Right.
It's basically a puzzle you have to solve with words.
Right,
How
right.
specific you have
Is
to be.
what comedy is, essentially. So
Yeah.
that actually matches really well.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
absolutely
exactly.
matches. I dated a lawyer once and we didn't work out, but I felt like she was good people, but she would always argue with me about just anything, right?
Yeah.
And I think she fancied herself a really good debater. And I was just like, you've never come up against a comic. So hearing you being a lawyer and a comic, it's almost like unfair. You know what I mean?
Is that right? You feel?
Yeah, because it's like
mixing logic with crazy.
Right.
But corporate lawyers were never in the court. You weren't in the courtroom, right?
No, I was not in the courtroom.
Yeah. Right. But just the ability to sort of like play with words.
Think logically.
Yeah, think
it's
logically.
The analytical thinking, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think she probably ran circles around most people. And I think as a lawyer, it felt like she would argue points she didn't necessarily believe. She was just argue for argument's sake.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And by the luxury of only arguing the points I believe, it's a slightly different, you know what I mean? Thing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
How do you sort of reconcile those two things? And it was easier for you to become a comic because you were a lawyer?
I think there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
I often think about a stand-up set as an argument you're making to the jury of the audience.
Very nice.
Right? Where you're like, you're taking a position, you have a perspective, and you're trying to sell it. You're trying to sell it to this group of people that don't know you. And in that way, it's very much like a legal argument.
I mean, if you go back to like ancient Greece and what have you, that's the origin of it all, of like you talking in the public square. Was it called the aurora? Or am I thinking of the lights in the sky in Alaska?
Those are the lights in the sky.
Yes. Aurora Borealis.
No, but there's something, it has a name. It's not, I don't know. It has a name like that.
What is it? Areola?
No.
also very important.
That's beyond one thing.
I don't know. I'll have to look it up.
It has an R.
Ancient Greece, kind of like areola.
They had like a public square, and orators would go up and talk. They were philosophers and they were politicians. And now they say that comedians are modern day philosophers. Not really.
Agoras. The agoras.
The agoras.
Yeah.
I
very
told
nice.
you.
Very
Aurora,
nice. That is pretty close.
Areola.
I was thinking like
we got there.
Sleeping Beauty with Aurora? What's happening? Yeah. Agoras. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you always want to be a comedian though? I mean, was that something that you...
I'd always been interested in comedy. The gateway for me was improv. I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway? And I watched the Seinfeld show and his stand-up special when it came out. And Brian Regan was very big in Utah. Mm-hmm. All the clean comics, you know.
So is your comedy clean?
It's generally clean.
Okay.
Yeah. But I was raised by religious parents who were both very traditionally minded. So a job in entertainment is no job at all for a man who's supposed to have a family.
Oh, no.
So I never really entertained the idea of being in entertainment. It was always law for me growing up. And then, you marry up and the woman of your dreams is like, what do you want to do? Because I'm going to work. So,
wow.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I ended up retiring from law. We moved to LA and I became a stay-at-home dad and then did stand-up at night.
There's so many questions there. Like one is, do you think you benefited working first? Or I went to college first and then had a job and then did the thing. So I think it helped in terms of just having a work process. And also, do you think you are more motivated because your wife did that for you? So you can't you can't mess around.
Squander it. Yeah. I think so on both counts. I think for stand-up in particular, it matters to live a life.
Right.
And
absolutely.
So people who start early, I say more power to you if you want to start stand-up young. Go for it. But I don't know that you're going to have much really to say. You'll learn how to say it.
Right, exactly.
But you might not know what to say until you've lived some life. So I think just being older helps with that. And then, I think I am more motivated based on the life situation that I'm in. And my wife also thinks there's an academic bubble that's going to burst at any moment, like the housing bubble.
Oh, wow.
And so she's now telling me, you got to get famous fast.
Right.
So this is a good step for me, being here.
Just sort of like people are going to learn online, so they won't need teachers,
or just tuition cost is going to burst because it's inflated.
It's so high.
And the number of kids are probably not going to, as many kids will
and
go.
who knows how sustainable any of that is.
Yeah.
Well, because a college degree doesn't even guarantee a job anymore.
We were just talking about that.
Right.
Before.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just reading about it. OnlyFans girl who gets $48 million a year.
What?
That's more money than like Aaron Judge and most of the baseball players.
Yeah, that
wild.
OnlyFans stuff is.
I'm gonna start my own OnlyFans.
Sell some feet.
Nice.
Yeah.
I got laid off, and you know what? Maybe it's time. Maybe
it couldn't hurt, Kat.
So on your podcast, you review self-help books. What's your favorite self-help book?
So far, it's been Atomic Habits.
Oh, I love
for
that one.
personal.
Write that down.
It is so clear and digestible, and it's actually one of these books that's you can take what he is talking about, implement it in your life immediately. and notice a nice change. So it's all about the smallest changes you can make to develop a good habit. So he takes a very economic view of how to instill habits. That is, decrease costs and increase utility. So if you have a good habit you want to develop, make it as easy for yourself to do that habit as possible. And then the opposite for bad habits, right? Make it as costly as you can. So in talking about Hitler, there are some examples of people who basically say, I don't want to drink alcohol ever again. And if I do, I'm going to tell my friend to send this donation to the Nazi party on my behalf, right? Like I'm going to have money in escrow with them.
They can send
and
out.
if they find out I've ever drank, they send it in my name.
Oh, wow.
And so it's like, no one wants to donate to the Nazis. So
right.
anyhow, so yeah, it's like make the cost so high that you will never commit this bad habit.
I'm trying to
again.
stop watching TV before bedtime. I think what I need to do is remove the TVs from my walls.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a good idea. So every time you watch TV, you send me $20.
For the Nazi party.
That's a good idea.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
And I apologize in advance, but it just has to be done. And so eventually you will not see TV at night. Oh shit.
Okay, well, let's get this story straight once and for all.
Yep, let's do it. If somehow you've never watched The Shining or you've never listened to Here Comes the Sun, here's a bit about both writers. Stephen King was born in Portland, Maine in 1947. In 1973, he published Carrie, which allowed him to become a full-time writer. He's been dubbed the King of Horror and has published over 50 books, including Pet Sematary, It, and The Stand. John Lennon was born in October of 1940 in Liverpool, England. Inspired by Elvis Presley, he created a band at 16, inviting Paul McCartney to join soon after, with George Harrison and Ringo Starr. The Beatles overtook the world and became one of the, if not the most influential bands of all time.
Now, you might be thinking, what could possibly connect these two? Well, according to conspiracy theorist Steve Lightfoot, more than we think.
I always think about Steve Lightfoot whenever I need information. I don't know about you guys.
It's the first place I go, right when I wake
Gordon
up.
Lightfoot, but who is that? A singer?
Yes.
Okay,
I think he sings. Is he the one who sings Moondance? No, I don't know.
I should look it
My
up.
dad liked Gordon Lightfoot.
Gordon
I
Lightfoot.
have no idea what he sings. Anyways, Lightfoot has a whole website dedicated to exposing the apparent truth that King is responsible for John Lennon's death. He highlights headlines from popular newspapers like Time and Newsweek, which apparently are government codes. And some examples are Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang, Ouch, Ouch, and The Job Richard Nixon Really Wanted. Also, the killer's face and identity. These were supposedly printed 3 and 2 months before John Lennon's death. Lightfoot also claims that the accused assassinator, Mark David Chapman, wrote that he is armed upon waiting to be moved into a hostile square by the giant hand of Ronald Reagan.
Was his hand really giant?
I think he means like metaphorically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Influence.
But apparently this Lightfoot guy wore size 14. I don't think his feet were light at all.
Yeah, he's heavy foot.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, God. Allegedly, Richard Nixon and Ronald Reagan wanted Lennon dead because of his pro-peace policies, and they were communicating with Stephen King through encoded magazine articles.
People could access information through magazines, but they were also shown a famous photograph which was taken hours before John Lennon died, in which he signed an album for Mark Chapman. Or was it Stephen King? Chapman and King's resemblance is not to be ignored, and they could easily be confused for one another. According to Lightfoot, Chapman is a paid patsy, a decoy, King lookalike who was waiting in the police station while King, posing as Chapman, was murdering Lennon.
Do they really look alike?
No,
I
King
think
has a much smaller nose.
I think if you went to school with them, they wouldn't look alike. But if one came up and shot you and ran away, and then you saw the other, you might be like, I think that was the dude. I mean,
They're both like generic overweight white guys.
yeah, this, right. This, so no,
Pretty
not
interchangeable.
if you knew him.
Yeah.
And the thing about that doesn't make sense is from what I've seen.
This one thing is the only thing that doesn't make sense.
Right.
What's the one thing that doesn't make sense?
Right. Well, apparently Chapman shot Lennon and stayed there until the cops came. So
He also confessed.
yeah, that doesn't make sense. And when we first tossed this idea around, I thought like Stephen King somehow activated him. I didn't know you were saying Stephen King pulled the trigger. That's
Yeah.
outrageous. Like
Yes.
Is it?
Like, and also this guy, Lightfoot, is absolutely wild. I was reading a bit on his website. First off, he sells this pamphlet. It's like $10, but you can't really buy the pamphlet because if you try to click on the website, the button doesn't work. But he says, mail me the check because the government hacked the buy button, the purchase button. And then there's like a whole about me section.
They leave the mail alone. They won't mess with the mail. Yeah.
He says he's failed golfer. He would have had a big golf career had he not come after the government like this. Also, he's
so
really,
the balls are in on it, or how does this work exactly?
I don't know. No, like the government sabotaged his golf career. Like they came in
as they're prone to do.
Broke all his clubs or something.
Right.
He had a really bad breakup with a chick who then said she was lying about her identity after a year, and he was like devastated. And now he doesn't believe anybody. So really, that's what this is about.
I see.
That's when if I ever date again, I'm just gonna say that at the end of a relationship. You thought I was Koji. I'm actually Dwayne Perkins. Right. This whole thing has been an elaborate lie.
Yeah. All you gotta do is when you go to a house, just keep looking out the window. They're there.
King does have connections to Lennon through his writing as well. The line, "We all shine on" from Lennon's song Instant Karma is rumored to have inspired the title of King's The Shining. In the sequel of Shining, Dr. Sleep, the lead character hears Not a Second Time by the Beatles. Wow. Okay. Another connection about The Shining, though, is that Kubrick's film adaptation is that Wendy Reed's Catcher in the Rye, which Chapman professed inspired him to kill.
Interesting.
Hey, but we also all read Catcher in the Rye.
But also
high school.
And not all of us kill.
But Catcher in the Rye is linked to a lot of shootings, Like the guy who shot Reagan
but also,
had Catcher in the
I think
Rye.
it's linked to shootings like water is linked to death. Like everyone who drinks water dies.
Right.
But no, they had copies on them.
But
though,
Hinckley,
when
when he shot Reagan, he had a copy of Catcher in the Rye.
It's because Catcher in the Rye is like every boy's like wet dream about being like your own man.
I read it as an adult. That I didn't get it at all. I got the book. But
it's
I didn't
awesome
get
when
the-
you're 13,
Right.
honestly. But like, it's funny because, for example, Sylvia Plath's A Bell Jar, which is like a similar time period of a person, and Sylvia Plath is a way more talented writer than J.D. Salinger ever was.
Mhm.
But like, so you read like The Bell Jar now, you're like, oh, she's an amazing writer. This is an amazing book. You read Catcher in the Rye later, you're like, fuck this. Like, I don't know why I thought it was so good.
It's some idiot kid at a prep school who's mad at the world, and it's like, dude,
I hated it.
make the most of the prep school situation.
Yeah. But boys, it speaks to boys though.
It does.
It
yeah,
does
yeah.
speak to boys, like 13-year-old boys.
It's like, oh, everybody sucks.
There's some
They're all
angst.
phonies.
right. He's a phony. Yes. Now I know we're going to get into our theories here, but one thing I saw online, which was crazy, and it's real because it was on Howard Stern. James Taylor was talking to Howard Stern.
Oh, yeah. He met this guy.
James Taylor met this guy.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
day before.
Lightfoot.
Yeah.
No, Chapman,
Chapman.
the guy who shot
Lennon
John
shot
Lennon.
him.
Huh?
No, King shot him. So
No, I know, but I mean,
The
he shot the
look-alike.
Patsy.
Yeah.
James Taylor met him
Yeah.
and talked to him for a few minutes.
Yeah, in the subway, right?
Yeah, and he said he was a little off, and then he walked away. And James Taylor lived in the next building. He lived one building over from John Lennon, and he was on the phone the next day, and he heard the shots. And he's talking to someone on the phone. He's like, I think the cops just shot someone. It's like 5 shots and da da
Sounds
da.
like he killed him.
I mean, and then he hung up. Then that person called him back and said that was John Lennon. And he's like crazy. And apparently James Taylor also was on this guy's list of possible people to kill. So
Yeah.
he could have killed James Taylor.
You
and
know what
then,
this reminds me of? That story in the Bible where the strangers show up and they're like, get out of here, strangers. And then Jesus is like, hey, it was me all along. That's a story, right?
I mean, I know Adele did that once. Adele.
I think you're going to need to run that Bible story back one more time. Can you hit those key points?
I don't know. It's either in the New Testament or the Old.
Yeah.
Oh, it's one of the testaments.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
very
Well, it has to be the
It's
New
somewhere in
Testament
there.
if it's Jesus, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I guess. I mean, he is the same today, forever, and always. So
Right.
at some point,
Yeah.
somebody's like, knocking on houses, and there were angels. If it's the Old Testament, they were angels.
Was he like the CEO that hides and goes for the company or something?
Exactly.
Wait, are you talking about like in Matthew 25 when he's like, you did it unto the least of these, my brother, and you did it unto me? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, but there's also another one. I'm probably being confused because I bet a pastor once put them together in one sermon, and my brain was just like, all right.
I guess it's one story now.
So it's basically like you might be dealing with God, so be careful.
Yeah,
like treat others with kindness because
you never know if they're the undercover boss.
Right. I used to have a joke about that because I used to say, whenever someone asks you for money, before you say no, ask them if they're God.
And then
because
also ask them
yes,
because it's like the cops. He's got to tell you if he is God.
Yeah. If you're a YouTube prankster,
right.
You're like the Sphinx riddle.
Also ask a stranger, "Hey, am I on your list of people you might kill?" And then be nice to them to bring it all back.
This is the number one thing I tell my son all the time. I ask, because I coach baseball, I coach a bunch of kids, and I always say, "Hey, who's the school shooter at your school?" And I'm like, "Please befriend him. Be nice to them."
Who's that guy?
Who's that guy?
So
be nice to them. And so then when he's about to shoot up the school, he'll be like, "Hey, maybe you should go home. Go to the bathroom. Go away."
Right.
Because that's like that's what you do.
All right. It's time to put on our thinking caps. Did Stephen King murder John Lennon? When we return, we'll settle this once and for all and figure out what really maybe happened.
I love how we always say, let's settle this once and for all. Like we're going to have a battle.
That's so funny.
Freaking settle this. I've got like a baseball bat with nails coming out of it.
Right.
Well, now that we've reviewed the evidence, let's give our theories.
Okay, I'm going to go first. Okay, so it's yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Did he kill John Lennon directly? No. That's crazy. But King is responsible for bringing back sci-fi and horror, right, as a genre. And he's really a vampire that's lived, at least as far as I could tell, 1 century or maybe 2. So that's part of the thing. So
that's a whole different podcast.
And so he actually wrote Catcher in the Rye. Because you know how J.D. Salinger was a recluse?
Okay.
The reason he was a recluse was because he didn't exist.
Interesting.
It was actually Stephen King, the vampire
pen
version.
name.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so he wrote that book. So the guy who killed Lennon, obviously he wanted to be Holden Caulfield.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, Stephen King inspired Chapman by writing Catcher in the Rye and writing Holden Caulfield as a vampire that's lived 1 or 2 centuries.
Interesting.
I mean, do we really have to share anybody else's theories?
I mean, that's in pretty
no, we
airtight.
really don't. Yeah.
You had me a vampire.
All right, Dwayne, why don't you go next?
Okay, now mine is a little similar to yours, actually.
Oh, okay.
But what I think is this, and we've talked about this before. So there's 2 things to consider. One is the MK Ultra program, which we've talked about, which is a real thing that the CIA tried to sort of use mind control in war to take over people's minds, either to make soldiers hyped up or to, infiltrate enemies' minds. And then also, there's a movie from the 70s, which I love, and they turned it into a TV series, which was so great. I only think we got 1 season of it, maybe 2. But the movie was called 3 Days of the Condor with Robert Redford. And the series in like 2018, I believe, is called Condor. And in that series, similar to what you're saying, basically every book, every article has some encoded messages. So that's how people hide and deliver information to each other in plain sight. So one example is the
Bible code.
Bible code? I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Maybe I don't know what that means, but like Dean Koontz is a writer, right? And he has a book. It wasn't the first edition, but like maybe the 3rd or 4th edition. This is real. In the 80s, he had a book, and I think the 3rd edition of this book, some kind of thriller, and he had, and this is in the 80s, something about a virus starting in the Wuhan section of China, right? And you go ahead 30 years later, and we have COVID that started in China, in Wuhan, I believe. So I don't know exactly like who has the key to know, okay, what article and what information. So I think that 2 things sort of happened. I don't know if I think Stephen King was involved. They gave him what passages they needed him to write, like just 1 or 2 sentences, and he put them in the books, didn't ask any questions. And they knew with MK Ultra, they had these guys programmed like that Angela Lansbury movie,
Manchurian Candidate,
which they've redone. So I'm using the old movie.
The good one.
As soon as this guy read that, certain letters in a row, certain words, that activated him, and they wanted to kill John Lennon because of the war thing. Now, why they haven't done that more is because they realized, well, if we can control people to kill people, we can just control people. So now they kind of they skipped it. They were like, what are we doing? Let's just control everyone. And so they skipped that part, and now they can
control people.
They just control people through like social media and things like that. But I think MK Ultra didn't go away. It worked. Maybe not exactly how they planned. And so they used MK Ultra along with these coded messages to activate Chapman to kill John Lennon.
Wow. Okay.
That was complicated.
Yeah.
I followed it.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
How's it similar to mine?
Using
yeah,
Stephen King,
because yours
It's
activated
also a
the
yes
guy.
and no kind of a.
It activated, the guy was activated through the writing. So similar.
Got it. But mine was a vampire. That's an important part of the story.
No. Stephen King was a vampire.
Yeah, Stephen King was a vampire.
Right.
That's an important part.
Not Chapman.
That's the most important part of my story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe it was different in that way. Yeah.
Don't even compare my theory.
Right.
I have two theories. One is about this and one is about Lightfoot. So first off, I do think that Richard Nixon probably had, and Ronald Reagan, the Republicans, had John Lennon killed because John Lennon was spreading all these wild ideas about peace and love, and they didn't like him. They were like,
and
what is
marrying
this?
Japanese women. That's
And that.
we had to be careful about this.
Cannot tolerate that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, they really were upset about this communist tree hugger making everybody else tree huggers. And they're like, next thing you know, we're going to be electing a black man for president.
Right.
2008.
Right. And
What's going to happen in this world?
and didn't John Lennon stay in bed for like 60 days or something weird like that? Him and Yoko?
Yeah.
That's
so
not a good thing.
communist.
Probably.
Yeah,
So
you got to get out of bed.
That's
and
hot.
Go to work.
That's so hot.
So I do think maybe Nixon and whatnot, CIA had Mark David Chapman activated, right? I like that theory. Lightfoot, on the other hand, I think he is secretly RFK Jr.
Okay.
Why?
Because they're like, this is the same person. Like, personality-wise, they're like identical. They're conspiratorial. He
Maybe
looks like he
they
lives in
shared
a
the
van.
same worm.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
That's a
the
brain worm.
link.
They met at one point when they had
Yeah.
brainworms
Yeah,
and
yeah.
became linked through quantum entanglement.
Right.
That is how they are the same person.
All right. Well, I'm on board with the. I mean, there's a whole book written by this guy Fenton Bressler advocating for this FBI CIA activation link that Chapman was recruited when he visited Beirut, and that's where they programmed him, and then eventually he was triggered to do it.
Oh, so like almost like an MK Ultra thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The one thing about the negative for John Lennon marrying an Asian woman is that Mark David Chapman also was married to an Asian woman.
What?
I know. It gets deeper.
Maybe it's the Asian woman.
But here's right.
She's the common
It was actually
thread.
a plot.
Oh my God,
from-
Koji, you're in danger. You're all of a sudden married to an Asian woman.
The thing is, it was a plot from Japan. Yoko Ono was sent to break up the Beatles
From the Emperor Hirohito.
and kind of failed, and so they needed Mark David Chapman to seal the deal.
So weren't they broken up yet already?
Yeah, no,
But
they'd already broken
might.
up.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
They'd already broken up. I mean, David Chapman is such an interesting character, right? Because he gets John Lennon to sign an album before he shoots him. He's there all day. He sees John Lennon leave in the morning, and he waits until the evening to shoot him. Wild. And also, on a side note, there was the healthcare manager, CEO guy who just got gunned down.
In New York, yes.
In New York, kind of in a
wild.
similar way, like shot in the back multiple times.
National treasure, that CEO.
Yeah. Well, an accountant just gunned down.
He was
in the
married to a
streets.
Japanese woman.
So,
I don't know that.
but here's the thing that I want to throw in. Okay, I think Mark David Chapman was put up to this. He might have been put up by the FBI or CIA, but I don't know why no one's looking at Pete Best, who was the original drummer that got kicked out of the band, and I think he was just biding his time until he met Mark David Chapman. He fed him some info, and bada bing, bada boom, Pete Best gets his revenge.
Classic lawyer technique.
Yeah.
Find another plausible suspect. And Be
Absolutely.
like, why didn't we investigate this one? Clearly, these detectives have not done their job.
They're not looking at Pete?
Pete was playing the long game too.
Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
like, let them get famous, let them be super
Right.
successful, let them break
Yeah.
up.
That's really hype. Was he a better drummer than Ringo, you think?
I think the talent, he had better talent,
Right,
but
right.
he was not as consistent. and
Interesting.
not as likable. Everybody liked Ringo.
Right.
Arguably, Ringo kept the Beatles together.
I see. Yeah, they actually called him. His name was Pete, right?
Pete Best.
Yeah. Yeah. When the things got really. No, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, God.
I'm not even going to do it.
Was it a Nazi joke?
No,
No.
No, it was going to be a best pun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pete's not the
yeah.
best.
Yeah, that's exactly. So I just
too low.
it's yeah.
No.
So
I thought it was a Nazi. I totally was thinking about
No,
Nazis.
no,
Sorry.
You were thinking about them
Pete's
a lot.
Nazi
I
best.
just didn't know.
There you go.
If I were a Caucasian dude, I'd be a Nazi.
Right.
100%.
but,
God.
right.
Oh no.
What I like about this theory though is that like, yeah, imagine if you were in the Beatles and then you weren't.
Yeah.
And like it's no big deal in 1960, but
Right.
by 1975, like you've got to be like, yo,
Pulling
like
out your hair.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
This is they're the biggest band ever.
Yeah. Who cares when you're playing garbage clubs in
Right.
Germany?
Exactly.
So what? But then Ed Sullivan?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. Yeah,
Like
that would hurt.
You would have to dig deep to find a way to be okay with that.
I mean, he's got a much better motive. And look at Mark David Chapman has no motive, really. Like,
Yeah.
why
Just
would
like
he?
a sick man. I think Pete Best took
His
advantage
mental
of a
illness?
mentally ill guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might have even paid him.
Can I suggest that maybe Pete Best was a vampire?
Please do.
We don't know he's not, right? And
No.
you know, he's trapped. It was Pete Best from like the 1960s.
Is
though.
he alive?
That's a good question.
Yeah, he's alive. He's a fucking vampire. Allegedly.
Oh, you know what? I remember doing a deep dive on this guy, actually. A deep dive. There was something with his mom. Yeah, his mom had some kind of weird affair.
Huh.
Yeah.
With Ringo Starr.
No, with
Stephen King, the vampire.
Yeah. He's the love child.
With Mark David Chapman.
yeah. I mean, what I like about that is, you know how sometimes you see that guy who like missed out on something,
Yeah.
and they talk to him, and he's always like, "No, I'm okay. It wasn't meant for me." And da-da-da.
Right.
You know, it's much easier to have that attitude if you killed John Lennon, right? It's like, you know what? It wasn't for me. I mean, look what happened to John.
Yeah. I mean, I think he ended up writing a book, or at least did some interviews where he did say it was very difficult.
Right.
And then he had a turning point, but he's never been clear about what that catalyst was.
What that turning point was.
I think we need to investigate
It was
that a little bit.
the Dakota is what it was. That's the building. Yes.
I mean, at the very least, I think he boned Yoko. Maybe
Pete Best?
Maybe he cucked
Maybe.
John Lennon.
I mean, maybe
That
so.
should have been it, but
Boy,
not killed him.
did a service for us all.
Yeah. So at this point in the show, it's time for us to pick the unofficial official story, one that will answer the question once and for all. So which theory are we going with?
Okay, as much as I like my vampire story,
Mhm.
I
It
think,
is good.
I think the Pete Best one makes the most sense. I mean, it just made sense to that.
Yeah. And I like all of them, and definitely MK Ultra intrigues me. But yeah, that Pete Best, that was solid. That was, I mean,
Like right when I heard it, I thought, yeah, that's
I
it.
feel like two things were extremely legitimate that were stated at this table today. First of all, legally, I feel like, Seth, your Pete Best theory is the strongest.
Thank you.
Secondly, Gordon Lightfoot is RFK Jr.
well, no, wait,
Stephen Lightfoot.
Stephen Lightfoot. Yeah.
Gordon Lightfoot is RFK Jr. National Treasure of Canada is RFK Jr.
I have a cold, you guys. I am not
3-0
well.
right now. I mean, how do you vote, Seth?
I mean, I feel like I need to give Dwayne a vote because the MK Ultra thing is one that I am really partial to.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
thank
feel
you.
bad voting for myself.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter.
And you won anyway already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
As an honorary nod.
Right.
Yeah.
And there you go, guys. It was Pete Best
Allegedly.
in the conservatory with the candlestick.
Right. Nice.
Allegedly. Absolutely.
And that's the official story, you guys. We'll take another break, and when we return, we'll try to figure out which celebrities were really killed by other celebrities.
Are there any famous people you think were murdered by or hired someone to murder someone else? That's a very confusing sentence.
That is a great one.
Okay, I have mine.
Yes,
wow.
yes.
Mine is George Reeves, the former Superman.
Yeah.
Right? He was
Oh.
found dead with a gunshot wound to his head in 1959. And this is what it was. The real Superman killed him. because he was mad that he thought like this guy's an imposter. He's not the real Superman. I'm the real Superman.
Right.
So then when he shot him, he thought it was just going to bounce off his head because he's the real he's Superman.
Yeah.
Right.
But then
he was like, if you're Superman, yeah.
And then
Right.
he killed him, and then he's like, oh shit.
Right. I kind of like the idea of the real Superman using a gun. Could have done anything.
Yeah, but
no.
he wanted to seem, it's too obvious.
great.
If his face was like caved in, it'd be too obvious.
Yeah.
So like a gun.
Laser burns, clearly, but a
That's
gunshot.
really cool.
Yeah, so George Reeves is the guy.
Wow.
I believe Brittany Murphy was murdered by Dakota Fanning
Why?
Wow.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
because she just loved her too much and didn't want anyone else to have her.
Were they in a relationship?
No.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I was just like, what movies was Brittany Murphy in and who would have killed her? Maybe Mila Kunis because she wasn't just married with Ashton. So,
She was in the Eminem movie, right?
yes.
Yeah, 8 Mile.
Yeah, but who
Yeah.
else was in that movie? No one.
Right.
No one?
Haley.
Marshall Mathers was
Marshall
in that
Mathers,
movie.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. Eminem himself. What was I thinking?
I don't know.
Like, yeah, who played Eminem? We don't
Right,
even
right.
know his name anymore.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Guys, I am sick and I'm on a lot of cold medicine.
Maybe Brittany Murphy is the real Eminem. And then
She's the
Wow.
real Slim Shady.
she's the real Slim Shady. And then like they didn't want
All
it to
the
be
other
her.
Slim Shadys are just imitating.
Dwayne, what about your answer?
Well, obviously, Puffy or P. Diddy the Diddler, whatever we're calling him. He's been in the news, so there's a lot there. So I thought about doing that, but maybe that's a little easy.
But he's alive.
One of them can be alive,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, true.
So I'm thinking, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I'm
We do-
thinking,
P. Diddy killed Tupac. That is one.
right, or I was gonna say more Jay-Z, but with Biggie. But I think I want to go with he didn't do it, but some people on his behalf, he didn't ask for this, but some of Jackie Chan's people.
Why are you looking at me?
No. I'm just because you're in front of me. Yeah. They took out Bruce Lee, so Jackie could become that guy.
Oh, that's actually a good
And 20 years later, it happened. So, I mean, he was dope, but I mean, really, he wasn't like a star in America for a while. But people say that kind of maybe happened anyway.
Yeah, it's part of a conspiracy.
Yeah, so I'm going with that one.
I don't like that Heath Ledger passed away, and so I'd like to blame that on somebody. And I can't remember the guy's name now, but he's a famous actor who within the last few years got in trouble for doing some acting classes where he had women in intimate scenes with him.
Oh,
Do you know
wow.
what I'm talking about?
Wait, is he a director as well, or?
Kind of. And he has
sounds so
James
familiar.
Franco.
Oh, wow, he did that?
Yeah, well, allegedly.
Wait, his brother is his brother is a famous actor too, right?
Yes. Yeah. Is it Danny? I don't know.
John.
John Franco. So
Is James the younger one? who
James
was
is the
in,
older
like-
one.
Oh, okay. Which
He's
one
got
is
a
in
younger
21
brother.
Jump Street? I don't know.
I don't
I'm so
know.
bad with famous
Why are we
people.
writing it down? What are you writing down?
I'm gonna
We're
Google
going to
it
look
too.
at every fourth
Yes.
letter. And we're going to see if it activates a message.
Let me see. I've got 21 Jump Street up. I don't know. Dave Franco.
Oh, okay. So
Dave
James
Franco is his younger brother.
Yeah, James Franco. I like that. I like that theory because
So I think James Franco took out Heath Ledger to be the heartthrob king
I could see that
of the 90s.
He was on like Twitter, not Twitter. What's the dating thing?
or early 2000s, really. Raya,
No,
You
was it
think
Raya?
the dating
That's
app.
the
What are we
famous
thinking
one,
about?
right?
Yeah,
It's a dating app.
Truth Social. You're thinking of Truth Social.
No, like the basic one that a lot of people, Tinder. Yeah.
Oh, Tinder.
He was on Tinder or something like that. Like,
James Franco.
Yeah, and it was like unfair because everyone was like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
But nobody would believe. I mean, like, would you really think it?
No, I think it was
yeah.
someone pretend. I was getting
No, but-
catfished if I saw James.
Yeah,
Franco.
that's what.
No,
yeah.
but then he probably was proving that it was him.
How would
He
you
was just,
prove it?
He was just pulling down major tail, and everyone was like, "Dude,
Show up and be like, tell everybody that this was for real.
Right? Do you get reviews on Tinder or no?
I've never been on Tinder."
No, you kind of have to just show up and hope you don't get murdered.
But
But
there's no review. There should be a review process,
there isn't.
like an Uber, like driver
It's like
review.
Craigslist for dating, where it's just
Yeah,
hope it goes
I've been
well.
married the whole time Tinder has existed.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we're literally risking death every time we meet people.
I mean, that's just in general for women, though.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do
We're
with
risking
online.
death every time we leave the house.
Yeah, Exactly.
Well,
so what are you complaining about?
At least everything got better, though.
At least there's a paper trail now.
And this is why I share my location with my mom.
Wait, so to be a heartthrob in the 90s, that was
Or the early 2000s.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. Because I think he passed away early 2000s.
he really wanted to be in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Right, and he was just so mad that
He couldn't be that.
he wasn't the Joker. And
What's your favorite Heath Ledger movie?
probably, the most arguable, I don't know. The Dark Knight is just so good.
Yeah.
So I think I'd put that one there. But 10 Things I Hate About You is just a fun, nostalgic classic.
That's like one of my favorite movies.
Knight's Tale is also really good.
Yeah.
That's what I like that one. I know it's crazy.
Yeah.
With the jousting.
Yeah.
I like
My,
that
my
one,
wife
yes.
was talking to me about 10 Things I Hate About You, and she's like telling me the story, and I'm like, that's not right. And then I told her literally scene by scene what happened. She's like, how many times have you seen that movie? I was like, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So, like, I could tell you like literally everything that happens in that movie.
Any honorable mentions for The Patriot for Heath Ledger? Patriot?
That was so weird because he's like Australian accent doing American.
I know. He tried so hard, though.
I was like, this is the American Revolution.
Yeah.
Okay.
But maybe they sounded like that back then.
No, maybe, I guess. I
Maybe.
don't know.
I don't know.
Who did you say?
George Reeves.
Oh, right. That's
Right, the
right.
real
That's right. That's
Superman.
right.
Yeah.
You went first. Yeah.
Yeah, Superman
Yeah.
is,
With the
I like that.
He's
I
a
like
jealous.
that. Yeah.
jealous
I
person.
think Nicolas Cage killed Nicolas Cage, but he keeps coming back to life because he's a vampire.
That's hilarious.
Did we do an episode Nick Cage as a vampire or no? We've done a bunch of people as vampires.
Maybe.
I
I'm
think
not
we should
sure.
like all the celebrities who are vampires.
Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
we
we
did
did the
That's right. We did an episode.
Oh, I see, I
A
see.
bunch of people were celebrity. A bunch of celebrities were vampires because a lot of people think celebrities are vampires.
Yeah, because they just don't age.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and they keep coming back again.
Yeah.
And they're not. They're not. It's the abortion fetuses that they drink every
The
day.
baby's blood. Yeah, the stem cells.
Duh.
It's the stem cells.
No, it's Botox, you fools. Thank you, Seth, for coming on with us. Please tell us where people can follow you and listen to your podcasts.
Yeah, you can find my podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. Just look up Self Help Yourself. And you can find me on the web. Ever heard of it? At SethLawrenceComedy.com. All my socials are Seth T. Lawrence on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook,
Are you a Blue Sky yet?
and TikTok. I am not on Blue Sky.
Get on it.
Yeah, is it fun?
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically Twitter, except without
Twitter,
the toxic.
but empty.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's
So there's
still
room.
empty.
There's room to
we're
jump
both on
in.
Twitter now. Kat and I are on Twitter, so
We're
follow
on
us.
Blue Sky.
Or Blue
sorry,
Sky.
Blue Sky. I mean,
All right. I'll get on there.
Yeah.
Is it just words?
Yeah, it's just words, but you
Great.
can like subscribe to channels. So I have one for like pictures of cats, pictures of
Oh.
sighthounds, pictures of dogs with long snoots and noodle dogs. Those are like all the these are multiple
There's
channels.
a really clear theme for you.
Yeah. I'm like, great. I never have to see another like random neo-Nazi tweet ever again.
wait, did you say Nazi?
Sorry. I think it should just be on a collar for a dog or a pet. Just some quotes.
Oh,
Yeah.
God. And thank you all so much for listening. There are almost 4 million podcasts, and we're honored you've chosen to listen to ours. Please check our website, unofficialofficialstory.com, for our show notes or to hear our past episodes. Please follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Notice how we got rid of the X on there? We're no
Nice.
longer going to be on X. All right. So please consider writing a review of our show on the platform you're using to listen to this podcast. We know it's a pain in the butt, but it goes a long way in helping the show. It helps us reach new listeners, grow our show, and most importantly, it enables us to keep putting out our content that we hope you enjoy.
And if you like the podcast, please be sure to share it with your friends, family, and even your enemies. You'll be doing a lot to help us keep bringing exciting and fun content every month.
Please join us next month where we're asking the question, is Winnie the Pooh an allegory for mental illness?
You guys wanted this one. I didn't want this one.
That sounds fun.
Which one of us wanted that one?
I think it was Dwayne.
Maybe?
You said you wanted it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It sounds very tenderhearted. How are we going to make that funny?
No, I think we'll be okay.
It's a bear with no pants.
Right.
That's the way I like it.
Yeah. It's a bare-bottom bear.
Right. Plus, we get to talk about, if you're stuck in the woods, would you rather come across a man or a bear?
If someone just walks around the world with no pants on, are they mentally ill?
Or are they a man?
And we also have to remember the saying to remember how we treat bears. So it's black, fight back, brown, stay down, white, say goodnight.
Oh,
That's
I
how you
didn't.
remember what you to do with each kind
Black,
of bear.
fight back. Brown, stay down.
White, say goodnight.
I feel it's the same thing with people. Yes.
Actually, at one of my classes, a student left my class. Okay, at the end of every screenwriting class, I have advice on how to get away with murder, how to stay safe from murder or crime. And the third one is how to stay safe from the world. And I was sharing the bear story. And the student came back in and thought I was talking about people. And she started getting really offended. And I was like, dude, bears, not people.
Right.
So don't worry about, like, I'm not making a statement about white people. Or
That's
black
why
people or
you
brown
sometimes have to ask a clarifying question just to make sure you.
Are you talking about four-legged bears?
Yeah.
Not two-legged humans?
Yeah. I think Arnold Drummond said it best when he asked the question, "What you talking about, Willis?" And I think
that'd be funny if you were being racist, though, but only very specifically to gay men who resemble bears.
right.
Like, no, I'm not racist in any other part of my life,
No,
but here
just a little homophobic.
in West Hollywood,
Yeah.
specifically.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right.
thank you guys so much for having
Thank
me.
you so much for coming.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you everyone for listening. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.